This is Bob Santelli on assignment for the Bruce Springsteen Archives and Center for American Music, and I'm here with Nils Lofgren. Nils, obviously, America has been going through some pretty traumatic experiences over the past 6 months or so, particularly with COVID, which has all but shaken everything up, particularly in the music world. So I'm wondering, how has the quarantine and the impact of COVID on your life affected your music? What are you doing musically these days?
Wow, that's a wide encompassing question, Bob. It's interesting that everything's changed. Of course, I've been in the E Street Band 35 plus years. The last couple years, I was lucky to reunite as an alumni of Crazy Horse with Neil Young. And, there's always scheduling conflicts. And a lot of times, of course, E Street and Bruce come first. And I was excited potentially about, we've been working on a record, which of course leads to a tour, which thankfully Bruce is one of the great performers. We all love performing. I don't only speak for myself. Probably about 10 years ago, I realized, because I have such a great wife and home and dogs, and that I get homesick now. And I don't like leaving home anymore. But the flip side to that was, once I was out on the road, which I'm 51 years now on the road, I found an even deeper gratitude and elation for the actual show itself, which, thank God, Some people after 10 years, like, I can't handle the road, they get off the road. I turn into someone who gets some kind of therapeutic healing quality out of, despite the fact you're being judged and you want people to come back. So I was at this point, and it was strange. Amy's kind of a prepper anyway. She's from West Orange, New Jersey. Been out here in Scottsdale, Arizona much longer than me. I've been here 24 years. So she started kind of shutting us down and stockpiling in case, because she was doing a lot of research on this ominous COVID that seemed to be headed our way, not realizing how far behind our government was and warning us. And meanwhile, I'm sitting there, I guess it's not the ideal word, but musically I felt almost greedy, because Neil Young had decided on the spur of the moment, with almost no notice, to take us out to play. And I was so thrilled about that. We were going to play a lot of the old venues that, they're tearing down for the nice new modern, stuff. And they all want 10, 12 months notice. And Neil wanted to play now. And so within 6 weeks, he had a couple months tour with a break planned. And in great Neil fashion, it was like, hey, if we're having fun, we'll stay out all year, on and off. So I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm going to go finally out and do a healthy tour with Neil Young, Crazy Horse. Then I'm going to go home for the holidays and go back out all next year with the fabulous E Street Band, with what I consider as great a record in the works as I've ever heard Bruce make. And that's saying a lot. And then within weeks, everything's gone. It's all blown up. I started thinking, hey, I might put one of my own runs in at the end of the year. And with that came a shocking change of pretty much everything. I mean, area, and, tragically, but not unexpectedly, in the last few days, our numbers have started skyrocketing again, because, we've come to, our worst fears came true, where so many things we're discovering at once. To me, it's not a great discovery. It's just a fear realized that I'd hoped we'd skate by, and we have not. At what inept government we are. And even before that, inept country we've become, in the name of freedom, of greed, money, power, to where we're not ready for things that we should be ready for our citizenry. And that includes me. And we've gone from, it's funny because my wife, Amy, who is very positive and optimistic, she's a professional cook. She has her garden. She's working day and night cooking, harvesting. I've become the houseboy. I run errands and run around. I've got 2 metal hips that are in great shape after 11 years, so I can motor all around the place and take this here. But I feel like I've just become the errand boy of the property. Got 2 elder dogs, and we're have a very healthy fear of COVID-19. And we've had some friends pass away, like all of us have. My mother-in-law went through a nightmare in the New Jersey nursing home thing, got COVID, escaped 4 times, was wandering. Thank God she's in a place, she survived COVID, and she's in a safe, better place now. But just all our lives have changed. And musically, all these, potentially 3 great tours, which might be the next year and a half of my life, evaporated completely.
Has
And,
has the opportunity to be at home with, unfortunately, the elimination of these great tours, as you say, has that prompted you to do any writing? Have you been busy songwriting, playing music that might be a reflection of COVID or Black Lives Matter or anything that's connected to what's going on in the world today?
I'm not there yet, Bob. Have a distant thought way. I realize when I play with Crazy Horse, I play a lot of piano and keyboards. So I was practicing that. I actually, because I get bored practicing so much, but I pick up and play. I've got like pianos, accordions, guitars around the house, and I started to play piano. One of my favorite piano pieces in all time, and I studied a lot of classical music too as an accordion player from 5 to 15, is the great Roy Bittan's Jungle Land. Just a masterpiece of 11 minutes of, piano genius. So I found, long story short, I did some research because just sitting there, doing scales or whatever from my accordion days, I'm a little, bored at this point. So I found an online lesson for Jungle Land. It's 17 lessons, right? I mean, it's just, it could be a year or 2 of work. And of course, no one will ever play anything that sounds like Roy Bittan. But to get ready to go out with Neil, I started taking these lessons. I think I'm through lesson 6 of 17. And, I sat there briefly trying to figure out what Roy was doing. And within like an hour, I realized there is no way I will ever figure this out. I mean, if someone said you have to do it to stay alive, I'd say, okay, 8 years from now, I'll have it for you. But I gave up, and then I found these lessons online, and it's like a key to the candy store. So I was slowly doing that. So I've kept that going because I've lost, right now I'm not ready to write about it. Something that helped, last year I had a new album, Blue with Lou, featuring 6 songs I wrote with Lou Reed, God rest his great soul. And I took a band out to tour for the first time in 17 years with a band. I tour acoustically a lot. So I had a couple months early this year distracted by putting a live album together and mixing and picking versions, which kind of kept me busy. But the writing thing has eluded me. I'm so overwhelmed and heartbroken with what's happening to my country, to our planet, our country, at the hands of corruption and greed, and basically just limitless moral treason of what our country is supposed to be by really powerful people en masse that took an oath that is the antithesis of what their oath to power and money is today. And it's very heartbreaking. I just haven't had it in me. And honestly, I thought, oh, we'll have a lot of time on our hands. We started binge watching things, and all of a sudden, the little help that would come and help us, because we got a big home and property. It's very old, rustic, needs a lot of work. It became a lot for me and Amy, and she's the boss and knows what to do, but I'm the legs that can run around these 2 acres right in the center of Old Town and bring this there and get that and take out the trash and the recycling, which is some stuff I'm used to doing, but the 2 of us now are a lot busier. And I never thought I'd be that busy in a quote pandemic where the order of the day was stay at home. But I'm not beating myself up because it's a real trauma. I've never had any clinical depression, and I don't believe I do now, but I have a serious case of the blues. I think maybe writing will come one day. I may not write about this yet. I wanted to start work on another album just slowly. But what I have done in the house, because I'm gone so much, I like to be in the home with my dogs and Amy and not across the yard in my studio unless I have to be, because I miss them. And so I'm around them a lot. And off in the little living room, I got a dinky little amp and a guitar. And what I'll do on my phone, I'll put on Muddy Waters, B.B. King, Albert King. Because I was going to go out with Neil, I'll put on Neil Young, and I'll just jam. just play the blues. And it's a bit of a healing musical exercise, short of being inspired to write about all this at the moment, because it's a serious bout of the blues that I have based on everything we're all going through. I'm much more, look, I've had tours canceled by the greats, my own health, whatever. So it's much more than that. That's become a sidebar to, my fears for our planet, literally. I mean, literally, we've become an endangered species at the hands of this mad corruption. And again, I call it moral treason. I'm happy to call it treason, but they tell me that's technically not the legal definition. So I'll call it moral treason in my eyes. So I'm still, my wife was like, well, by now we had hoped we start opening up a little, because of course our country was going to do the right thing, shut everything down, get vicious with our scientists about testing, tracing, and kind of come out of this now like New Zealand did. And we've done the exact opposite, and it's horrifying and depressing. But now I'm realizing, okay, well, you can't wait. You've got to find a life. And I'm struggling with that, past what I just mentioned. Thankfully, I'm still working on a little piano, which is more engaging, this beautiful piece I love, which I may never get through, but it's the act of getting my mind off of MSNBC or what's going on in TV. I'm calling a lot more friends and just checking in with people, my three brothers who I love dearly, my best friends, and just kind of being very careful. Fortunately, our son down the road, Dylan, is not rushing out to the bars like all the kids in Scottsdale. He has the same healthy fear of this. He's got dogs at home. Fortunately, he likes to do gaming and, watch TV. So thank God we're not wrestling with a young son that wants to run out. And so we're just counting our blessings, being grateful for what we have, and realizing this is a long haul. And I am not there yet, but I realize now, past playing and studying a bit, I need to challenge myself to find a musical life locked at home, and know that I just have to accept this could be an indefinite thing, and I can't just sit around and wait for the next chapter based on a cure or any of that. And then you throw our corrupt government in, and it's just mankind in general. It's like, it's very sad. You see, Dr. Fauci, all these beautiful people, the CNN hero shows, you see these people with nothing in poverty, putting schools together for little girls that have no rights and teaching them and learning. And there's so much beauty and solutions, and God help us if those people were in power. I mean, imagine what the world would be if it was like run by ruthlessly efficient, compassionate people, not unlike the government in New Zealand, for starters. And we're the antithesis of that. And it's a great shame on us, because I love my country. And, people say, oh, if Trump gets in again, I'm leaving. I'm like, where am I going to go? I want to stay and fight. But, I mean, we'd be out at the demonstrations if we were younger and healthier. But Amy and I have health issues. And I'm like, I don't think my doctor friends tell me this is a lot worse virus than people think. And so we're going to be safe. And back to the musical question, I can't just do what I'm doing. I got to figure out now a whole other way to be a musician professionally at home, in addition to just letting it be my hobby.
Are you optimistic that the music business as we once knew it, or at least a good portion of the music business as we once knew it, will return? I mean, or is this a defining factor in music where people our age, or people who have been supporters of you and Bruce for the past how many years, will think twice about going to a concert simply because it could be potentially dangerous or life-threatening even? What's your feelings on where we'll be 2, 3, 4 years from now in the music business?
Yeah, it's funny, before the pandemic really hit bad, I was on the phone with Neil, and he's like, well, we got to watch this pandemic, but I want to go play. And then a week later, it was like, look, we're asking large amounts of elder people, which is most of our audience, to gather, and it's irresponsible. Little did we know how much worse it would get. So we let all the tours go. Instead of, we'll replan it in September. Yeah. He realized what we all did. This may be open-ended. So I think it's going to be quite a while. In the long term, I have to let that go. Yes, I do believe in hope, of course, because I'm a dreamer. that someday I'll be out and safely play shows with bands. One of my friends, Matt Bittman, the sound man and road manager, did a great job on my live album coming out and did my last tour. He's out of Baltimore. They're now organizing drive-in shows where you drive in, but there's a 20-foot marker and you get 20 by 20. So you can listen to the concert with the car radio, put chairs outside, but stay socially distanced. And you know, they're doing the same thing with the bands and crew and mass and, you know, Purell, testing, temperature, all that stuff. And I don't know if I see the bands I'm in, myself, Crazy Horse, E Street, I don't see us doing that. But I don't know. It may come to a giant pay-per-view, super safe environment for band and crews for a while. But I hope someday we'll have a legitimate cure that will work for everyone. And like, you know, we have such a backward government, but everybody knows, you and I know, every musician I know, every person I know with any common sense know that you need this to be free for 6 billion people. You need the world to not have to deal with this. And at that point, and do I hope it's 2 or 3 years, that's optimistic, and I still hope that's the case, we can go play some stadium where people are like packed in like sardines safely, because there's a safe cure, that smarter minds prevail, global leaders that like, everyone has to have this, it has to be free, otherwise we're all screwed, because you can't ban travel for years from any country to any country. And that's a solution. Sadly, a lot of reason I'm pessimistic it's going to be 3 or 4 years instead of 2 years is based on the ineptness and corruption of our government. But I have high hopes that might change by the end of the year. And even then, with all the great minds happily working towards a solution, it's an enormous task that we should be right in the thick of now, and we're not.
You know, whatever happens to the business side of music, there isn't any question, as you well know, that music will continue to remain a really important part of people's lives. No matter where you go, music is there. And in our country, in our culture, it's a defining factor of who we are as Americans, with all the great music we've given to ourselves in the 20th century and all we've given to the rest of the world. It's not going to go away. It may be the vehicle that changes, but not the music. So I share your optimism.
Yeah, and one of the things that, it's funny, I was blessed in '85 on the Born USA tour to befriend Ringo Starr of the Beatles. And in '89, I did his first All-Star band, and again in '92, and we've stayed close. I was just talking to him the other day, and you know, he doesn't need money, but he's like me. He had 2 long legs planned, and he's going stir crazy. And intellectually, he understands it, but it's heartening to see, you know, that he's somebody that there's something you really miss, and playing on the road in front of people. Now, something that don't have straight yet that I gotta believe technology will get to, when you play with someone on Zoom, because I've done it with my brothers, and there's a bit of a lag and a flam.
Yeah, right.
And I'm hoping they'll fix that, because then you can play. It's not the same, but still, when you're playing live with a person and you see them and hear them, that's a magical thing. And of course, in your mind, well, the audience is 200 people, 20,000 people, whatever it is, they're watching us, and Zoom's not there yet. And maybe some format will get there. And in the interim, while we're waiting to safely play for many, that will be a big step towards letting us use the gifts. You know, look, I got a gift for music I did not ask for, I did not create. Between my parents' DNA and some higher power, I don't like organized religion. I believe in a God or a higher power. I got a gift for music. It has very little to do, I mean, I've practiced, I've used it, but the actual reason I've had the career I've had is a gift that had nothing to do with me. I was given. And I think that's my opinion of a lot of talented people. God bless the musician who thinks it's all me, I created it all, that's okay. But again, that is getting the flams out of Zoom so we can start playing with each other live, and you can watch is one step there. And I have to believe in the future we'll all be out doing it again. Maybe there'll be some safety restrictions or policing people coming in. My job's to stay alive and healthy, so when it happens, I can go out.
I think, like you say, it's you've had a gift, you have a gift, and you've been blessed. You played in with two of the greatest American artists in the 20th century, in Neil Young and with Bruce Springsteen, and also have made a pretty significant contribution in your solo albums as well. So, I speak, I'm sure, for millions of Springsteen fans and Neil Young fans when we say we hope it gets to that point where we can go back and see you on stage in the environment that brings the most emotional satisfaction to us through the music. But in the meantime, the idea is to stay connected to the music with whatever technology we have, and that's what I've been doing. I know that's what a lot of people have been doing, and it's great to hear your optimism and your sense of where we are.
And
Nils,
little side note.
yeah,
One of one of the reasons I believe people like Bruce in the studio and live, and people like Neil in the studio and live, those gifts they've been given are so extraordinary. But one of the reasons they're so special, especially in front of an audience, is this. When Neil decided not long ago, we just can't go out and play and expect people to gather. Within a few days, he called every one of us, me, Ralphie, and Billy, the three guys in Crazy Horse, and said, look, we can't go charge money and play shows, but I really wanted to play music with you guys. Is there anywhere you can think of in your neighborhood where we could just play? And I was so blown away by that attitude because, there's going to be overhead involved. And right down the street, we have this beautiful cattle track gallery. It's like a throwback to old Arizona. And Janie Ellis, one of our great neighbors, her dad built this old 1930s adobe home Amy and I have. She's got like 20 acres, a gallery with a stage. She said, you can use it all you want. And I sent Neil pictures and said, man, we can park buses, we can park the crew, we can get carry out food, no one has to leave, and we have carte blanche to use this. That's like old school power of music. Neil wasn't like, well, geez, I don't know if I can afford that. He actually just said, I want to play. Let's try to figure out, forget an audience, forget making money. Let's just get together. I'll lose some money and we'll make music because we were hot to try. And I thought that's the reason bands like that or E Street are so great when they're out there, because there's a healing, joy to what we do, and seeing what the audience takes it as and how it touches them and heals them, that you just can't buy. It's not about money. And it's a rare gift that, I've had a 50-year plus life filled with it. So I'm very blessed. And, I'm like you and everyone else. I'm cranky for those days to come back in whatever form they are. I believe they will.
well, I think I echo your sentiments, like I said, for all the Springsteen and Neil Young fans out there. Stay safe. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and we look forward to seeing you down the road sometime, somewhere.
And last, before I sign off, all you music fans that have been coming for decades and decades through the rain, sleet, snow, babysitters, car parking, all that stuff, to come hear everybody I've worked with and myself play and sing music. God bless you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I speak for myself, and I'm confident I'm speaking for almost every musician on the planet. None of that happens. None of that magic happens without you in front of us. It takes us to a place we never find, making a record, rehearsing, even great moments pale in comparison when we're in front of you all, the audience. So God bless you from the bottom of my heart. We thank you. We can't thank you enough. And we look forward to the day we're all together again in a venue singing and playing for you, because you're as much a part of what happens as we are. God bless you and stay safe.